Oh, why you no game?
Beat 'em ups. Hello out there, everyone. This is Andre, the Game Idea Guy. Thank you very much for lending me your time and your ear and listening into another video of the Why You Know Game series. Last week I had the Streets of Rage video, which was just specifically to Streets of Rage and Sega. This time I'm covering beat 'em ups in general and how I think that they could make a comeback and what would be the best way to bring them back, in my personal opinion. Now, we have two very, very capable handheld gaming devices, dedicated handheld gaming devices, mind you, in the Nintendo 3DS and the Sony PS Vita. Both of these platforms would be perfect for revitalizing the beat 'em up market. Now, I've seen Sega kind of trying to put out a lot of their old classic games, and I think that I think Streets of Rage is on the 3DS. I think it's Streets of Rage 2 3D now or something like that, or 3D Classic Streets of Rage 2. One way or the other, it's there, and it can be played in 3D now, utilizing the 3DS's stereoscopic 3D. What I would propose is for companies like Capcom, whoever has the old Taito licenses and like the Gelco licenses and stuff like that, and like all of those the people that have the licenses for all of those old school beat 'em up games like Maximum Carnage, Separation Anxiety, the X-Men arcade game, uh, Ninja Turtles, Streets of Rage Sega. Capcom could bring back Final Fight, Knights of the Round. um, there's a lot of beat 'em ups out there. But I think bringing those games out to those two platforms and like remastering them with updated visuals and things of that nature. So basically, from this, you'd utilize the 3DS as your base for developing this, and then port over to the PS Vita because the PS Vita is obviously the more hardware capable machine. But we do also know that the 3DS is also a more popular platform among the two, so it makes more sense to start with that. Now, I'd love to see a remastered Captain Commando, like the old arcade version of the game. And for this version, I'd say give the option of having the old SNES the SNES version of the soundtrack, or the original arcade soundtrack, like so that people can choose which one they want. And they could also go the route of adding a third soundtrack, like a full remastered soundtrack to the game, which would be cool. That'd be nice to have. But that's just that one example. Like, they don't have to necessarily utilize the 3DS's two screens for anything other than to say to allow people to move their HUD and points down to that screen. But I personally would not play beat 'em ups. I prefer that information be on the screen so I don't have to look away from it. But it wouldn't hurt anything as far as I'm concerned. Heck, another series of games that would be good to bring back would be Gekido, which I loved Gekido Advance. I still have it. Like, and I play it every now and again. Like, the animation is very smooth in that game. And if they were to remaster a lot of the old games, I'd love them to do it in that animation style. Like, it was so fluid. It looked beautiful for it to be a Game Boy Advance game. Uh, but do that in like higher definition. Like, it's not exactly high definition on the 3DS, but it's higher definition than the Game Boy Advance, and it's pretty close to high definition for the PS Vita. Uh, I'd also love to see these games come to PC too, and I didn't even think about that because I found it odd that I could find like Streets of Rage and Golden Axe on Steam Marketplace, but I couldn't find a game like Knights of the Round from Capcom. I'm like, you guys are slipping on that. Why is that not on PC? Or Dungeons and Dragons, Final Fight. Final Fight Arcade, the original arcade Final Fight, should be on Steam, and then Final Fight 2 and 3. Those should be on Steam. And they should also be on the handhelds. Like, the PC market, I know, would appreciate those games. And as far as other gamers are concerned, I know people would probably pick them up on their handheld more than likely than they would pick them up on their home console, which is a little bit of a shame. But I think people would pick them up on their handheld more or less because they can play them on the go. And beat 'em ups aren't really games that you have to invest yourself in the story necessarily, unless it's like a really deeply rooted story. And there are some that are like that, but most of them they're just throwaway time passers, but they're enjoyable to play. And that would be a benefit to have those on the portable systems and on PC. Home consoles could come later on if this genre of gaming regained popularity. Um, though it could through that method. I can think of so many great games that I used to play that I loved and enjoyed that just aren't around anymore. And again, we've got companies going back and pulling their old games, but then they're pulling the same ones that they've already remastered like 4 or 5 times. Oh, like granted, some of the games I did list did actually come out several times, but it wasn't like there was like one generation that's here, then the next generation is here, then the next generation is here. That's not what happened with those games. Like, you wouldn't see those come back for at least a generation or two. And it's been about 2 or 3 generations since the last really good beat 'em up game has come out. So why not go back into those files and start fishing those games up and bring them out? Actually put them out for people, this newer generation, and let them learn and enjoy these games. Let them get their hands on these. Like, that's always going to be my problem, is that newer generations of gamers don't have, well, they have illegitimate access to these games. They don't always have legitimate access to these games, and here's the thing. People don't mind paying money for stuff. It has to be available for them to pay money for it, though. And that's the problem with some of these games. They're not available for people to buy them. So I feel like I'm going off on a tangent here, and I'm not trying to, but this is one of those things that I think would be, it should just be like, oh, it won't cost as much to put these out. We could drop one like 3 months. We can drop one, and then 3 months later, if it's a series, we can drop the next one, because we could have our developers having a short cycle for working on these games, since all they have to do is take the code and kind of, well, no, I can't say it would be a short cycle because I'm also talking about remastering. So maybe 6 months. 6 months. It will still be shorter cycles. They can put the games out for cheaper, and then on top of that, they could put more of them out, and they could probably wow and amaze people. Like, take like I said, take like Streets of Rage. Take that game. Take the first Streets of Rage. Actually, do what Bomber Games did with it, and rebuild that game. Rebuild the characters from scratch to fit the later engines. Like, Streets of Rage 3 was probably the best beat 'em up engine I've played for during the I guess that would be fourth gen. Yeah, that'd be fourth gen. The fourth generation. That was the best of a fighting game engine I've played during that time. Hell, Sonic Blast, man, is another one I'd love to see come back. And I was just thinking about that. Um, there's a lot of classic games in the beat 'em up genre that could make a nice return if they were just to be put out in the handhelds. I wouldn't want to put them on mobile because, like platformers, beat 'em ups kind of require you to be able to be precise in your movements, and touchscreens aren't always precise. I mean, it could be done. I'm not saying it can't be done. It's just it feels weird, to say the least. It just feels weird to do it that way. But yeah, I'm just gonna shut up now because I've gone on too long. Um, I'm just an advocate of bringing back those games. Like, we get those games coming. Like get the older games coming back out. Like I said, do remasters of the older ones, and then we could possibly get a continuation of the series. Like Captain Commando, for some reason, only had the one game. Like that, he's a character deserving of more than just one game. Oh wait, I mean, I'm pretty sure he was in Sector Z. He was the character you played with, but that's still beside the point. That's not Captain Commando. That's not a Captain Commando game. That's Captain Commando in that game as the character. That was how he was introduced. But that's not the Captain. That's not a Captain Commando game series where you have him, Mac the Knife, Genzu the Ninja, and Baby. That's what my point was. And like those characters definitely could have had far more adventures and stories, and they could have branched out of the beat 'em up genre if they were properly used. I would say having them show up a couple of times in the Marvel vs. Capcom series just ain't enough as far as I'm concerned. But I'm done now. I'm finally actually done. Thank you guys very much for listening. Keep your eyes and ears up for more of my stuff, and until the next time, enjoy your games. Peace out.